Hey everyone, Noah here. So this is definitely a whole other kind of video than what you're all used to by now, but it's an important one nonetheless. So, yeah. If you stuck around on my channel long enough, you'll know that I was in the process of creating a Minecraft animated fantasy series called The Rise of Brine. I mean, to say I was in the process of creating it would be kind of an overstatement, seeing as all that really got done was the script. And even that only reached as far as like 6 episodes of the first season before my motivation just, fizzled out and I got too busy to work on it anymore. So there's probably not that much you know about, since the information I uploaded about ROB was pretty vague. My co-director JDC did like a casting call for me, and that was about it as far as I remember. So yeah, I had a few people on the team for ROB, but ultimately nothing got off the ground in the year it was being worked on. So I was debating what to do for a very long while, but then recently, I finally made up my mind. So the bottom line of this announcement is pretty simple. I'm going to be shutting down the project. So The Rise of Brine is cancelled. I'm going to talk about why I made this choice soon. But for now, I just want to mention that the script for ROB, containing the 6 episodes I managed to get done with JDC's help, is linked in the description. So yeah, if you want to read it, it's there. Since my decision is final, I don't see a point in keeping it under lock and key or anything, sort of like the Songs of War script. If you have any questions about any ideas for the story that I had, like, following the script, like, stuff that hasn't written yet, feel free to ask them in the comments, or questions just about the script, whether it's already there, I guess. So yeah, you can also reach out to me on Discord. I'm totally willing to discuss the topic with anyone. So yeah, I just really want you to know, like, I'm open to discussing all this, even after it's been cancelled. And on to why I actually decided to cancel the project. There's actually a few reasons why, but it can be chalked down to a pretty simple explanation. Honestly, the main reason is that I just lost interest after a while. Because, like, in hindsight, I don't even think the story I came up with was particularly great compared to some of my other works. And I was taking way too much inspiration from Songs of War too. Like, I'm serious. Like, that's what prompted me to come up with ROB in the first place. But it felt like I was taking way too much from Songs of War. I didn't want it to become like a ripoff or a copy. It wasn't intentional, but like, I was taking so much inspiration. It was unreal. And again, I wasn't satisfied with the story. Like, I felt like the fan fictions I wrote had a better storytelling. Like, it just felt like I was doing a bit of a lousy job because I didn't have really the motivation to do any better on that one. And I was getting way more excited about other potential projects, like mainly the written stuff and some animated stuff as well. So yeah, like I said, like, I was so much more happy with my other stuff than ROB. And I started ROB in early 2020, and the script was being written up to about like September. And then I just kind of, I just forgot about it. My most ambitious project, literally an entire Minecraft animated series, and I just forgot. And there's reasons why that happened. Because firstly, I just wasn't satisfied with what I wrote, again. And a lot of stuff was happening in real life that was taking away my free time and my ability to work on ROB, since this was when I started taking hiatus after hiatus. So, working on ROB was fun at first, but it didn't take very long for reality to hit me. It just wasn't feasible to consistently work on a project of that magnitude with almost no access to professional software and almost no prior skill in animation. Especially when I had so many other things to worry about. High school, my personal life, the 10 billion other projects I was working on at the time. Honestly, it was just too much. If I hadn't given up on ROB, chances are it would have been a massive burden during early 2021 and could have negatively impacted my performance in school, so not to mention just my life in general. Yeah, I know what some of you may be thinking, that perseverance is key, and you'd be right to some extent. Yeah, you're right if you think that you should persevere towards your goal. Yeah, totally. You should never give up on your dreams, but, sometimes dreams just change. And by the point 2021 rolled around, ROB wasn't really a dream of mine anymore. It just wasn't it. It wasn't feasible, and it was honestly it was far more effort than it was worth. Songs of War is sort of comparable to ROB in a sense, like, in terms of production and why I canceled it. But at least David had, like, prior experience in filmmaking through Halo Machinimas, and at least he had a substantial following and a decently sized team of people to help. And he was already in his 20s, too. Didn't have to worry about school. Even then, Songs of War it failed on its very first season. It didn't even make enough money to warrant a continuation, so I'm sorry, my mood's just really weird. Like, I'm not trying to make this a joke. It's just, I kind of get like this sometimes when I go ranty. Anyway, to think I was originally planning on like writing a very lousy and subpar script and then turning it into a Minecraft animated series of absolutely no means to do so, that's pretty absurd. The team of people I did have working with me they were all wonderful, by the way, but like I barely even gave them anything to do, which is completely on me. So production just stagnated, and I knew things were going to stay that way if I didn't simply end things off. And I didn't want it just to die out gradually when I could just, kill it off easily. So, the topic of perseverance, again. I should mention that in order to persevere, in order to work towards a goal, you have to want to achieve it. And for a time, ROB was something I wanted to achieve. But now I realize that's just not the case. Any enjoyment I had working on ROB was just largely incomparable to that I felt with other projects, most of which were my written works, like Songs of War fanfictions. And maybe, just maybe, if I had been consistently passionate about ROB like David was about Songs of War, it could have warranted all the ridiculous effort, but no. Just, once I lost interest, it was effectively over already. It just took me way too long to officiate its death. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's why I canceled ROB. I really should apologize to my team and to JDC, because they really did do the best. JDC was an excellent co-director given the circumstances. He did a great job. So yeah, I'm really, really sorry that I kind of just cheated everyone. But I didn't even know what to do. So it is what it is. And I do want to say thank you to JDC and like everyone else who helped work on ROB. And I'm going to list off a bunch of people in the description. Anyone who helped me, because there were people who built some Minecraft maps. There were lots of people I invited to the production server, but then I gave them nothing to do. But there were tons of people who helped. I wouldn't say tons, but like there was quite a few. There were like a couple dozen, maybe just a dozen. And I also like to thank a friend of mine, the Second Coming, because he was always extremely kind and supportive of my efforts. He was honestly the closest to convincing me to continue ROB despite all my doubts. It still didn't change my final decision, but like I'm grateful for everything he did nonetheless. So if anyone who just one last thing. Actually no, two more things. This one. If anyone who reads the script wants to continue or adapt the story themselves, then by all means, just go ahead. Just make sure to credit myself and JDC in your adaptation, because like we did write that script. And also feel free to reach out to me if you need any advice or clarifications or anything like that. In other words, I'm totally open to my work being adapted. So I just need to ask that if you recreate ROB, you credit me for it, and JDC. So thanks. And the last thing I want to talk about is what's going to happen moving forward. Because I know, like, yeah, even though RB has been scrapped, I'm progressing onward to other stuff. So I don't want to make it seem like this is a bad thing. Because, I mean, yeah, it's crummy that I didn't get to do this, but I barely even wanted to do it at this point. So it's actually better for me that I don't. And the cancellation will allow me to focus more on projects I enjoy, like my written works. And I actually have a really major one I've had vague ideas about for years that I'm finally going to start planning. It's pretty important to me, but it will be much, much easier than ROB, seeing as it's just a written project and not like an animated series. And as time goes on, I may eventually post news and production info about that too. I don't want any of you to think I'm done for now because of ROB being canceled, because that's simply not true. I've got so much more to do, and I'm honestly really excited for it. And I'm not done YouTube either. I'm going to keep doing YouTube for sure, even though it might be rarer once I get back to school. And so with everything out of the way, that's really all there is to say. Thanks for watching, and as always, thanks for supporting the channel. And I will see you all next time.